Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about an Upheaval Barbarian build that I've been theory crafting, just based on the information we have now, but I have a sneaking suspicion there's going to be a lot of new items come launch that we haven't seen yet. So, to start off, going Frenzy. So what this does is every time you hit it increases your attack speed up to 60% depending on how many stacks you have. This is just a really solid way to gain Fury. While Frenzy is granting 60%, it also generates 2 additional Fury. And then, while Berserking, your other skills get 5% attack speed for each attack of Frenzy you have. So that's going to be, I believe, 5 stacks because I have a unique item that's going to give you more stacks. So instead of being able to get 3 stacks, you'll be able to get 5. So that means you'll be getting 25% attack speed to your other abilities. So next is the core ability here, and it is Upheaval. So pretty much the way this ability works is you like slam your weapon into the ground, and like it's almost like you're flinging a bunch of rocks, you're like uprooting the ground up from underneath the enemy. It's pretty strong. Upheaval has a 20% chance to stun, and then dealing direct damage to an enemy with a skill that is not Upheaval causes the next cast of Upheaval to deal 8% increased damage, stacking up to 10 times. So the idea here is you Frenzy to stack this up in order to do more Upheaval damage, 80% more. Then we're taking Rallying Cry. It gives you movement speed, it gives you Unstoppable, and it gives you 25 Fury and 50% resource regeneration. Now, Barbarian is going to be nuts because of these shouts. They are going to be one of the few people that can actually give a movement speed increase to their allies, and not only that, they're going to be able to do it a lot. I know it has a 25-second cooldown, but you'll see later on in this build that that is going to get severely diminished. So, Warcry increases damage dealt by 21% for 8 seconds and nearby allies for 4 seconds. So, Warcry grants you Berserking for 4 seconds, and if at least 6 enemies are nearby when you cast Warcry, damage bonus is increased to 30%. So it'll go from 21 to 30, and that's just pretty solid. Movement speed by 12% just to move faster. So you're getting, I think, 42% increased movement speed just from your stuff. Shout skills effects and durations are increased by 30%, so that's more move speed, more damage, more all that good stuff. Then we're going charge. That's just so we can move. It's just a movement ability. It's really all it's for. And then, I mean, damaging an enemy with it makes them vulnerable, but it's not really that big of a deal. Coming down here, we're just taking passives. We don't have a use for any of these in this build because it's really focused around just buffing Upheaval and kind of one-shotting things with that. So you deal 9% increased damage to close enemies, gain 6% damage reduction, and you deal 22% increased damage against injured enemies. That's just pretty good in general. Down here, each time we take direct damage, get life as Fortify, and then while you have a certain amount of Fortify, you get 15% increased damage. Okay. So, moving on. So now for the ultimate, we're going Wrath of the Berserker. So the reason why we go Wrath of the Berserker is because it's going to give you Berserking. It's going to give you Berserking, Unstoppable. It's going to give you gain 20% increased movement speed and increase Fury generation by 30%. So the way Berserking works is it makes it to where you deal like, oh God, I think it's like 20% increased damage, and it's just something that procs like passively on certain abilities. So it's increasing those bonuses you get from Berserker, stuff like that. And then, while Wrath of the Berserker is active, every 50 Fury you spend increases Berserk's damage bonus by 25%. So this is going to be pretty solid because we're going to be spending around 100 plus Fury every single swing, and yeah, that's just really it's just really solid. Okay, so that being said, if also when it comes to Wrath of Berserker, so gain Berserking and Unstoppable for 5 seconds. For the next 10 seconds, dealing direct damage with basic skills grants Berserking for 5 seconds, meaning as long as you're hitting things, you're going to keep this up. So it's kind of like if you saw the Druid Theorycraft build, it's super similar. You know, Grizzly Rage, Wrath of the Berserker, they're kind of the same thing in a way, where you're going to get move speed, damage, and the more you kill things, the more you hit things, the more it's going to go. So that you're going to see this in a speed build, most likely. Because, I mean, this build right here is, I mean, from the Barbarian standpoint, I haven't even put on any of the movement speed increasing legendaries, and you're talking about, I don't know, 60 or probably like 70, 75% increased movement speed that the Barb's going to get. Let's see, 12 here, 32 there. Then we go right here. So 32 is at 62, and then you increase the 62 by the 30%, and that's going to take it up to like, yeah, like the 70, 75% movement speed. So that's moving really fast, real fast. And then for our key passive, core skills deal 135% increased damage, but cost 100% more fury. That's no big deal. So Upheaval costs 40 fury, so now it's going to cost 80. And for every point of fury we have above the max, it's going to do even more damage. So let's go and get the legendary so I can explain that. So if you're not familiar with Barb actually gets 8. Yes, let me say that again. They get 8 offensive legendary powers. So that's the most that they can have, because they get 4 weapons. They get 4 weapons, 2 rings, an amulet, and gloves. So yeah, Barb is going to be kind of wild because of that, but that's okay. It's gonna make Barb real interesting because of how many legendary powers they can use. They're never gonna have that issue of, oh man, I need all of these things. So they'll be able to take them all. So first thing, accelerating aspect, critical strikes, the core skills increase your attack speed. This is just to play on the frenzy. Next, damaging enemies with leap, upheaval, whirlwind. Has a 40 to 50% chance to summon an ancient who's going to do the same thing. Can happen once every 5 seconds, so you're going to be getting double upheavals every once in a while. Whenever you deal direct damage while berserking, inflict 22 to 40% of the base damage dealt as bleed. We need bleed damage to combo with this. This is a unique chess piece called Rage of Harrogath. Up to 20 to 40% chance to reduce the cooldowns of your non-ultimate skills by 1.5 seconds when you inflict bleeding on elites. This is important because if you're speedrunning stuff and you're hitting stuff, that means you're going to be hitting a lot of elites, which means you're also going to be reducing the cooldown on your war cry and your rallying cry. So it's just going to help you spam that even more. Let's see, after that aspect of Limitless Rage, this is kind of what you're going to put on your weapon, on a two-handed weapon, on one of them, because you get 2 of them with a barb. Each point of fury you generate while at maximum fury grants your next core skill 2 to 4% increased damage, or 60 to 120, up to a 60 to 120%. So if you put this on a weapon, that means that you hit max fury cap, and then you stack up this passive up to 240%, and your upheaval does 240% plus the 80% from the passive, so that's 320% extra damage that it's doing, plus the core skills deal 135% increased damage. So your upheaval is going to do like 400 and some odd percent increased damage, something wild like that. And then you have attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill cast by 5 to 10% up to 50%. Now you can put this on now I would say you should put this on the next legendary, because now you're going to get an additional 100%. So now you're at like 435 or 450%. Now you're going to be up to 550% damage on that weapon. Just absolutely massive. And then you have this, skills deal up to 24 to 34% increased damage based on your available primary resource when cast, receiving the maximum benefit while you have full primary resource. So that's going to be just a 34% damage increase. And because you're always going to be casting Upheaval when you're at max, you're always going to be getting the 34%. So now you're starting to approach 600% damage increase to your Upheaval. Basic skills get 23 to 33% attack speed. So notice how with, accelerating this and this, you're getting, so let's see, so This grants 60, so you're talking 60 plus 33, so 93 plus 40%, so Jesus, you're talking like 133%, and then you get Battle Trance on top of it. This is a unique amulet. Increases Frenzy's maximum stacks by 2. While you have maximum Frenzy, your other skills gain 10 to 20% increased attack speed. So not only are you going to get an additional 40% increased attack speed, so now you're going to be like 173% attack speed, and I think there was another attack speed increasing thing in here that I forgot to mention, so it's going to be like somewhere around 200%, I think. Increased attack speed with Frenzy, you're also going to be getting 20 plus the 25, so 45% increased attack speed with your other abilities. So pretty good, pretty good, pretty solid. On to the defensives. Iron Blood aspect, gain 2 to 4% damage reduction for each nearby bleeding enemy, up to 10 to 20%. That's another reason why we took this, was so we can try to just keep up some DR and get some defenses in there. Damaging an enemy with a core skill has a chance to extend the duration of berserking by 1 second, double this duration if it was a critical strike, so it'll just keep berserking going. And then killing an enemy with a core skill refunds 10 to 20% of its base fury cost, can only happen once per skill cast. This will just help you regain your resources faster. So that is it for legendaries, and keep in mind with the movement speed you have a couple of options here too. You have Wall Unstoppable, and for 2 seconds after, you become unstoppable when you do Wrath of the Berserker, by the way. You gain 10 to 25% movement speed, so now your 70-something is now up to 100%. And then Wind Striker aspect, crits grant 8 to 16%, so now you're able to get up to like 100. If you want to turn this into a speed build, you could make some adjustments. You mainly just have to give up what you have on your boots, which I believe is going to be this. Yeah, so it's going to be your utility one. So you just have to give this up, which this isn't a big deal if you're doing speeds. This is a very minor thing, so you could get rid of this and throw on this, and then you could get rid of, let's see here. Well, actually, I guess you can't get both unless you want to put one on your amulet. So you don't really want to get rid of this, but you might be able to get rid of it just because depending on the difficulty you're doing, if you're doing speed stuff, you might not need the amulet. But this one is pretty good, so I would definitely recommend this one at minimum if you want to turn it into a speed build. And yeah, because this is, I guess this is an Upheaval build, but Barb has so much good like movement speed built in that it's also kind of a speed build as well. Not officially, because I'm not 100% oriented on making it like giga speed. That's probably going to be more of a whirlwind type thing, but yeah. So Paragon, we got enemies that have been affected by bleed for 3 or more seconds take 15% increased damage. We can take that. Killing a bleed enemy has a 12% chance to grant berserking. Could take that, but not necessary because we have Wrath of the Berserker. While berserking, critical strikes increase your attack speed. Oh yeah, this is it. This was the other thing. So that's 10% more attack speed, so it's like 183, I think might be the exact number, percent increased attack speed. Two-handed slashing weapons have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable. You don't really need that, but you do use a sword for your Upheaval. The reason why you want to use a two-handed sword for Upheaval is because with the weapon arsenal system, which isn't on here, depending on the weapon you're using as a barb, it has an additional effect, and it puts bleed on things when you do that, and you want to have bleed on things in order to more easily proc that cooldown reduction. So overpowers the two-handed bludgeoning weapon. Don't really need that. Damaging enemies with one-handed weapons increase your crit chance by 1% up to 5%. Could use that for sure. Every 75 fury you spend, 20% becomes fortified. Can definitely use that because every single Upheaval cast will be proccing that. And then swapping weapons grant you 3 fury. So swap, and keep in mind the way the barb works is you have a weapon skill, and depending on the weapon skill, so like Upheaval for example, its requirement is you have to use a two-handed weapon, but there's other skills that don't require that. So like you can actually set the skill to use a different type of weapon if you want a certain weapon mastery effect. So let me see here. So like right here, lunging strike does not have a requirement. You could use a two-hander, you could use the dual wield, or you could use you could use bludgeoning, slashing, two-handed, one-handed, it doesn't matter. You look at bash, it requires a two-handed. Frenzy requires dual wield, so it's not like all of them can do it, but then you get to like this one, flay, this one you can use whatever, right? And that kind of adds another level of complexity. I think Barb is going to be pretty interesting going into Diablo 4 because of just the sheer amount of build like paths. It's kind of like Druid, where I think Druid and Barb are going to have the most build variety because of how they work and how their legendaries and stuff work. Like there's going to be build variety in the other three classes for sure. I'm just kind of speculating that Druid and Barb are probably going to have the most at the beginning. But yeah, so that's the build. I hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time.